Hi everyone. As someone who plays Krasue a lot, I thought it would be fun to make an add-on video explaining all of her add-ons and also ranking them on a tier list. So here's the tier list I'm going to be using for the rankings. The amazing and great tiers are pretty similar, it's just that the amazing tiers are going to be giving a little bit more value than the great tier. The decent tier are for add-ons that are either good but situational, or for add-ons that are just alright. The not worth it tier add-ons can technically give you value, but it's so rare you get value from them that it's not even worth it to run them. And finally, the bad tier are for add-ons that are so bad you're almost never going to benefit from running them. I'm going to start off with the common add-ons and then slowly work my way up to the iridescents. With all that being said, I hope you all enjoy the video. Starting off with the common add-ons, we have Broken Tiara. Broken Tiara causes survivors to become oblivious after eating a glowing fungus. This lasts until the infection is cleansed or they're reinfected. This add-on's going to be going in the bad tier because it has some issues. Because of the way Krasue's power works, she really likes focusing in on one survivor, meaning survivors aren't really going to be leeched outside of chase too often. This means mainly when this add-on comes into effect, it's going to be against the survivor you're chasing. This isn't too helpful because Obliviousness doesn't hide your tear radius while you're in chase with the survivor, and it doesn't hide your red stain like Undetectable does. And the final problem this add-on has is that when a survivor eats a mushroom, it slows down their movement speed. This results in you mainly getting a free hit if they try eating a fungus in chase. So obviously smart survivors just aren't going to interact with the funguses at all during chase, so you get no value from this add-on. So out of chase, it's very hard to get value from this add-on, and in chase, you're never going to get value from this add-on at all against smart survivors. Next up, we have first Libretto. After you hook a leech survivor, for 15 seconds, the headlong flight consumption rate is decreased by 30%. This add-on's going to be going in the great tier. This add-on will give you value anytime you hook a survivor, because there's rarely going to be a time where you down a survivor and they're not infected yet, unless the survivor's throwing. Numbers wise, this is an extra 4.5 seconds of flight after you hook a survivor. This add-on's so easy to get value from, and it helps a lot with map traversal and finding your next chase. This next add-on is also flight related. Luckless Mouse gives an extra 2 charges to headlong flight. This is a pretty basic add-on. These 2 charges correlate to 2 extra seconds of flight, bringing the usual 12 seconds up to 14. It's going to be going in the decent tier. It's a pretty alright effect, but it just gets outclassed by some other add-ons, but it's definitely still usable. It's also unconditional, so you don't need to change the way you're playing to get value from this add-on. It's definitely not a bad add-on, and could be a good budget pick, but yeah, there's definitely some better options you can choose from. For the final common add-on, we have Sticky Lozenge, which shows you where your initial regurgitate is going to land. There really isn't a lot to say about this add-on. If you're starting to play Krasue, be my guest, go ahead and use it, but after you play like 1 or 2 games of her, you should not be equipping this add-on. A couple other killers, for example Trickster, have add-ons like these, but unlike them, Krasue doesn't need to directly hit the survivor with her projectile. It can bounce off objects and still hit the survivor, so aim isn't as important as it is for other killers. Onto the green add-ons, we have an add-on that I personally underrated for a long time, Chunk of Malai. For each survivor leech, the leech cleanse rate decreases by 8%. This can go up to 32% when all survivors are leeched. So it's going to be going in the decent tier. It's a pretty good add-on, but you need to be in the right situation to actually allow it to get value. So I've gone over how Krasue mainly wants to focus in on one survivor once she has them leeched. In this scenario, the cleanse time goes from 20 seconds per leech level to 21.5 seconds per leech level. So that 1.5 seconds of difference doesn't really do anything. And also you'd probably just down them in the 20 seconds anyway after they start eating the mushroom, because as we gone over, you don't want to eat a mushroom in chase. However, slugging changes this. Usually when Krasue hooks a survivor, their infection is instantly cleansed. If you leave them on the ground, they're going to stay leeched, and you can continue to infect multiple survivors until the whole team is infected. With all survivors infected, it would take 30 seconds to remove each leech level, which is actually a good effect for a slugging playstyle. And since you're slugging, survivors can actually reach leech 2 quite a lot, and that can lead to the infection taking a full minute to remove with this add-on. So I would recommend this add-on if you plan on slugging with Krasue, because she is really good at that playstyle, but if you're not going to slug at all, do not run this add-on because you're not going to get the full benefit from it. Next is kind of an add-on that's the inverse of Chunk of Malai, and that's Wriggling Parasite. This add-on increases the leech growth rate by a flat 16%. This add-on has 2 issues that are going to be putting it in the bad tier. First off is numbers. 16% is just not a lot. This takes the 60 seconds to increase a leech level and lowers that down to 51 seconds instead. This is still a long time and can allow survivors to take their time grabbing a mushroom from around the map since there's so many. The second issue this add-on has is what does Leech 2 do to benefit you? When a survivor goes into Leech 2, they become broken, and if they're healthy, that instantly injures them. But if you're chasing a survivor who just got infected, you should be injuring them in the first 50 seconds-ish if you're running this add-on, so this add-on does nothing if you're chasing a survivor. And if a survivor's already injured, it just makes them broken, and they can't heal for a little bit. But if you're chasing them, what does that do? And for survivors who are out of chase, again, they still have plenty of time to just grab a mushroom and get on a gen. I cannot imagine a scenario where you would actually benefit from running this add-on. Next up, we have Crumpled Music Sheet. This will instantly give you 12 charges of headlong flight whenever you hit a survivor with a leeching gland, which is your projectile. Unless you're running another add-on that increases the number of charges you have at a maximum, these 12 charges will always refill your headlong flight to the max. That of course being 12 charges. This is a great add-on because it allows you to close the distance between you and a survivor no matter what your headlong flight charges are currently. Say you just hooked a survivor and now you're looking for the next survivor to chase. You use your flight to get across the map and you don't find anyone right away, but then you see a survivor in the distance. So obviously you go to body form and infect them from a distance and then go back into head form. But because you already used up all your flight, you don't have any more charges to use to catch up to that survivor. Even though Krasue in head form moves at 4.8 meters per second, which is faster than most killers, it still can feel a little clunky if you don't have charges when you need them. And this add-on does the job of making sure you always have charges as soon as you start a chase with a survivor. Next we have Defective Metronome. It causes survivors to become exhausted while their infection is being cleansed. This lasts until the infection is cleansed or reapplied. So I'm going to be putting this in the not worth it tier. The way this add-on functions is the exact same as Broken Tiara, but instead of obliviousness, it's exhaustion. So all the same reasons I put Broken Tiara in the bad tier applies to this add-on as well. The only reason it's in a higher tier is because I think the effect is a little bit stronger. Like with Broken Tiara, survivors don't want to eat a fungus and chase because that just leads to them getting a free hit. But unlike Broken Tiara, if a survivor does eat a fungus, it actually benefits you a little bit. So obviously this add-on giving survivors exhaustion could save you from an exhaustion perk, like Dead Hard, Balanced Landing, Life, all of those. However, you're still kind of reliant on survivors messing up to get value from this add-on. Even though I'm ranking it a little higher than Broken Tiara, I still think this is just not an add-on you should run. For the final green add-on we have Pig's Eye. When survivors at least 40 meters away from you eat a mushroom, you see their aura for 6 seconds. This add-on's going to be going in the bad tier. Before Krasue's post-release nerfs, this add-on actually had a purpose. Since Leech didn't go away on hook, you could actually see where a survivor was cleansing after they got unhooked, if they were far enough away of course. But now since Leech goes away on hook, this add-on is extremely situational. So to get value from this add-on now, you have to infect a survivor, let them go, and then hope they choose a mushroom that's 40 meters away from you, and then you only get 6 seconds of aura reading, which you could miss. Even in a slugging playstyle where you could get value from this add-on, 40 meters away is still extremely situational. At least before her post-release nerfs, a hook could be really far away, and you actually could have a decent chance of having a survivor revealed through this add-on. Plus this add-on gets outclassed by a certain iridescent add-on, which I'm going to go over later. So I would not recommend running this whatsoever. Moving on to the blue add-ons, we have Dulled Knife. This decreases the consumption rate of headlong flight by 25%, but if a survivor eats a fungus, they gain 5% haste and elusive for 5 seconds. I'm going to be putting this add-on in the not worth it tier. Ignoring the fungus part of the add-on, the decreased consumption rate is a really strong effect for Krasue. This takes the usual 12 seconds of flight and increases it up to 16. And unlike first Libretto, which also lowers the consumption rate, this effect is unconditional, so you get it throughout the whole match. So yeah, the first effect is really good, but the second effect kind of ruins this add-on. So I'd say the haste isn't too impactful for Krasue since she's already so fast in head form. The main issue I have with this add-on is the elusive status effect. So I'm going to be showing some clips of some examples of what survivors could do to abuse this add-on against you. If you're stuck in animation or you're being body blocked by another survivor, this add-on allows survivors to just eat a mushroom and slip away. You're not going to see their scratch marks or blood, and they're not going to be making any noise, so it's really hard to track them. This would mainly be abusable on indoor maps just because there's so many line of sight blockers. And the examples I'm showing in the background are on Krasue's worst map, so these examples are a little extreme, but if you're running this add-on, this is a risk you have to run. This add-on was kind of hard for me to rank, because even though I personally don't like running it, if survivors aren't abusing this, it is an extremely good flight add-on. If you want to take the risk and run this add-on, go ahead and do it. It could be a net positive for you, but personally I feel like this add-on isn't really worth running just because of that risk, which is why it's going in the not worth it tier. Oh, and one more thing I want to mention is that I've gone over how survivors don't want to eat a mushroom in chase because it will slow them down and allow you to get a free hit. This actually works in favor for Dulled Knife since the buff is related to eating a mushroom, and if survivors can't do that in chase, they're not going to get the buff. But smart survivors will see what this add-on does and wait for you to be locked into animation for them to actually eat the fungus and slip away. This next add-on is pretty similar to Dulled Knife since it gives a buff to your flight but also gives you a nerf to your power. Framed Newspaper increases the charge capacity by 6 charges and increases the recharge rate by 15%. However, the activation threshold to activate Headlong Flight is increased to 50%. This add-on can be a little subjective, but I'm going to be putting it in the amazing tier. So the charge increase brings the 12 charges up to 18, and that results in 18 seconds of flight. This is the best add-on for increasing the time you can stay in flight. Now for the recharge time, normally without any add-ons, for 12 charges it takes 30 seconds to fully refill. But with this add-on adding an extra 6 charges and giving you a recharge rate buff, it takes around 39 seconds to fully refill the flight. So these two effects are really strong for Krasue, but we still have to go over the nerfs she gets from this add-on. So if you have a maximum of 12 charges of Headlong Flight, you need at least 3 charges to activate it. But with Framed Newspaper increasing the maximum to 18 charges, and increasing the activation threshold to 50%, you need to have at least 9 charges to activate Headlong Flight. I found this to be a pretty fair trade-off for all the benefits this add-on provides. So numbers-wise, if you're at 0 charges of Headlong Flight and you're waiting for your Headlong Flight to refill so you can use it, without this add-on, it takes 7.5 seconds to reach 3 Headlong Flight charges and start using the flight. But with this add-on, it takes around 19 seconds for you to reach the 9 charges to activate Headlong Flight. I personally feel like I'm rarely in a scenario where I have to wait the full 19 seconds to use my flight, but if you're worried about this happening, you can always throw in Crumpled Music Sheet or another flight add-on in the second add-on slot to help this issue. The reason I like this add-on so much more than Dulled Knife is because I find that giving yourself a nerf is much easier to play around than giving a buff to the survivors. This add-on might not be for everyone, but I still feel like it's a really strong option, which is why I'm putting it in the amazing tier. This next add-on is also going to be going in the amazing tier, and that's Splattered Handkerchief. After the exit gates are powered, all survivors are instantly infected with Leech 1, all fungi not being held by a survivor start to decay, and going into head form no longer creates a fungus. This is an extremely broken add-on since there's little to no counterplay if you're on the receiving end of this add-on. So first off, you're extremely easy to down when you're leeched, and it eliminates all body blocks since all survivors are infected. You can't remove your infection unless you are already carrying a mushroom before the last gen pops. And if Krasue doesn't find you right away, it's only a matter of time before you reach Leech 2 and you're broken and you can't heal. This add-on is still extremely strong on its own, but if you pair it with an endgame build with Remember Me, No Way Out, and any other endgame perk, it's extremely powerful. The only way I can see survivors escaping against an endgame build with Splattered Handkerchief is if they're extremely coordinated or they get really lucky. The only way survivors can cleanse their infection if there's no more fungi left is if you hook them. So if you decide to slug, all survivors are going to be infected with literally no way of removing their infection. This is the reason why an endgame build is the best build to run on Krasue. If this add-on didn't exist, Krasue's endgame builds would definitely take a hit. So if you ever want a free win on Krasue, just put on an endgame build, put on Splattered Handkerchief, and then slug an endgame. There you go, you just got a 4K. Next up we have Janjira's Hand. Whenever a generator is complete, you instantly get 2 charges of Headlong Flight, and the recharge rate is increased by 25% for 15 seconds. Once the last generator is completed, you instantly recharge all charges of Headlong Flight, and its recharge rate is increased by 25% for the remainder of the trial. I'm going to be putting this add-on in the decent tier. It's definitely not bad, it's just kind of luck based. You could go the whole game without getting value from this add-on until endgame, because if your Headlong Flight is full when a generator is completed, this add-on's doing nothing for you. But on the other hand, a generator could complete while you're waiting for your Headlong Flight to come back, and it could help you get that Headlong Flight faster. However, this add-on's also a great pick in endgame builds, since it's permanently active during endgame. This add-on's kind of alright. It's hard to get value from, but it's pretty decent in an endgame build where you can reliably use it. Next we have Theater Binoculars. When you hit a non-leech survivor with Intestinal Whip, you see the auras of all survivors within 24 meters of you for 6 seconds. Easily this add-on's going in the bad tier. If you try infecting a survivor just using your Intestinal Whip and not using your Regurgitate ability, it'll take 3 hits to actually infect them. This is so inefficient, there would be no reason why you would do this. So this add-on is just rewarding you from being inefficient? Like, why would you want to do that? The only way I can see you getting value from this add-on is 1, you're doing a meme build just using Krasue's head form and you're trying to find someone else. Or 2, you accidentally activate this add-on while you're getting body blocked and you see where the other survivor who you're trying to chase is going through a wall or something. Yeah, don't run this add-on, it's absolutely horrible. Now onto the purple add-ons, we have Lorenza's Remains. Survivors in Leech 1 are inflicted with blindness, while survivors in Leech 2 are inflicted with 4% hindered. I'm going to be putting this in the decent tier. This add-on used to be in all my Krasue builds when I was a beginner Krasue player, but I kind of realized I was overrating this add-on, so I stopped using it as much. So for the good things about this add-on, the Leech 1 blindness can deny survivors from seeing auras and chase. This can prevent them from seeing windows and pallets with 5 moves ahead or windows of opportunity. And if they're running something like Bond, it can prevent them from finding survivors who are uninfected that will take body block hits for them. And obviously for the Leech 2 effect, this can make it hard for survivors to loop you with the hindered. However, the main benefit from this add-on is in the Leech 2 effect. And as we've gone over, Leech 2 is very rare for survivors to actually get into. However, this add-on benefits from being paired with certain add-ons that can help it achieve its full effect. I'll go over some of these combos in the combo section at the end of the video. Next up, we have Rotten Swine. When a leeching gland hits a breakable wall, generator, or pallet, it becomes marked, with only one object being able to be marked at a time. Breaking and damaging speeds are increased by 15% on marked objects. This add-on's going to be going in the bad tier. It might seem like a decent effect, but the problem this has is the setup required. So either you mark an object you know you're going to break later in the match, and you have to hope that you don't accidentally mark something else, because if you mark a second object, it overwrites what object was marked to the new object. Or you can just infect objects before you're going to break them or damage them, but if you're close enough to the object already, you're just going to be wasting time infecting them first. If you want to break objects fast, I would just recommend running Brutal Strength instead. Mysterious Elixir has the same marking mechanic, but with windows. After you hit a window with a leeching gland, it becomes marked, and if you vault that window, it blocks for 10 seconds and removes the mark. Mysterious Elixir is going to be going in the not worth it tier. The reasoning I put Rotten Swine in bad applies to this add-on as well. It requires some setup, and marking multiple objects can ruin that setup. The reason this is a tier above Rotten Swine is because the effect is actually pretty good. A mini bamboozle is really beneficial, even if it's hard to set up. This add-on becomes pretty good if you mark the right objects and can take advantage of the effect, but if you can't do that, the effect is pretty useless. Finally, for the purple add-ons, we have Queen's Scepter. After hitting a survivor with an Intestinal Whip attack, a leeching gland will splatter from their location. This is going in the decent tier. I've seen some people say this add-on counters body blocking, but that's not really the truth. I would say it punishes bad body blocking. If a survivor is doing a good job at body blocking their teammate, this add-on's going to be doing nothing. The leeching gland will just be hitting the already infected survivor. But on the other hand, if the survivor is doing a bad job at body blocking, you can get a free infection on the body blocking survivor without going back into body form. So if things go your way, I would say this add-on is really good, but if things don't go your way, it's really bad. So I'm just going to even it out to the decent tier. This isn't game breaking or anything, but Queen's Scepter can also allow you to mark objects with Mysterious Elixir and Rotten Swine while you're in head form. I wouldn't say it changes their placement since it is a little situational, but I thought it was worth noting. Finally, we're onto the Iridescence, starting off with Shredded Gown. Whenever you go from head form into body form or vice versa, you see the auras of survivors within 8 meters of a glowing fungus or holding one for 5 seconds. This add-on's going in the amazing tier because it's so good for information. You don't even need to go out of your way to do anything, you just play Krasue and you'll get information throughout the match just from using your power. It's crazy how many times people have said I've been cheating just because of this add-on. Another thing you can do with this add-on is strategically place mushrooms to monitor certain areas. If you didn't know, whenever you go into head form, the body form husk that you leave behind turns into a mushroom, so you can actually choose where the mushrooms spawn. For me, this add-on is a must-have in a totem build, especially with Thrill of the Hunt. I can just place down a fungus right next to a totem, and either the survivor will grab it and I can see their location whenever I want that way, or they don't grab it and I can still see their location. Technically, survivors could take mushrooms away from locations you're trying to monitor with this add-on and place them somewhere else, but survivors get no indication you have this add-on, so why would they do that? This also works for survivors who are on hooks, and I think who are downed, I'm not sure at the top of my head though. So you're guaranteed to get value from this add-on every match basically. It's just that good. Last but definitely not least, we have Chicken Head. We already know where this is going. It's going at the top of the tier list. All survivors start the trial in Leech 1, and the initial amount of glowing funguses is increased by 2. This is by far her best add-on. Okay, so first off, it's basically a mini corrupt intervention. Survivors can't just sit on gens at the start of the game, they have to go around the map and find a fungus. If they don't do that early on, they're going to go into Leech 2 and you get a free injury because of that. And secondly, the main appeal of this add-on is how easy you can get downs with it. It completely eliminates the need to go into body form at the start of the match to infect survivors. Meaning if you know where the survivors are at the start of the game, you can easily get 1 or 2 downs or even start snowballing the whole game. And with how fast you can down survivors, it's not out of the realm of possibilities to find a second survivor after you down one and start going for them as well, because they might not have their infection cleansed by then. And the downside this add-on has doesn't even do much. The downside only affects the beginning of the match, and survivors rarely run out of funguses. This add-on is so powerful with like no downside whatsoever. Okay, so here is the final tier list. I think I mentioned this earlier in the video, but these are just my rankings and my reasonings. You can definitely have different opinions on these add-ons, and if you do, feel free to let me know. I also thought I would give some add-on combinations for you all, since I know some add-ons work better together than others. As I've gone over, Chicken Head is extremely strong on Krasue, so if you pair that with any type of flight add-on, I think that is an extremely strong combo. But if you don't feel like running Chicken Head, you could also replace Chicken Head with Shredded Gown, and I feel like it's a little less strong, but it's still a really good combination. And if you really wanted to, you could also run both iridescent add-ons together for another good solid combo. For a flight focus combo, my favorite combination is to do Crumpled Music Sheet with First Libretto. It's a really solid option that also brings a lot of comfort to Headlong Flight. If you're just starting out on Krasue, or you're running out of a lot of add-ons on her, a good budget option is First Libretto and Luckless Mouse. It's obviously not going to be her best, but it is pretty decent. For an endgame build, Splattered Handkerchief is pretty locked in, you can't really remove that. If you do, your endgame build is going to be a lot weaker. For the second option, Lorenza's Remains is great for giving survivors a lot of debuffs in endgame, but you can also pick Janjira's Hand if you want to use your flight more in endgame, plus you get some value out of it throughout the match. And for the final add-on combo, we have a slugging combo with Chunk of Malai and Lorenza's Remains. These two work well together because the debuffs from Lorenza's Remains stay on longer due to Chunk of Malai, and if you combine it with slugging, Lorenza's Remains debuffs become extremely annoying to deal with on the survivor's side. With the add-on combos being done, that's all I have. I had a good time just blabbing about Krasue's add-ons, so thank you all for watching. I hope you learned something new and enjoyed the video.